Let's cross now to Brussels to hear what the French President Emmanuel Macron has to say.
Better electrical supply and develop this new corridor of green energy between Marseille and Barcelona with a gas flow at the beginning, replaced later on by hydrogen. And this would be the best way to provide very much needed electricity. And this is part of our collective strategy. It's a concrete illustration of what you can decide when you decide at 27. And this is related to the general topic of the meeting, war and energy. And the challenges, which, as I was saying yesterday, are to help to bring down the prices of gas and electricity. And those two objectives have been attained. And actually, as a proof, the reactions of the markets as already proof. And we've managed to do this and maintain European unity. Since the war, we've had a huge task. First, we've had to diversify our sources of energy supplies. And we've reduced down to 7% our dependency on gas. So we've managed to plan for the winter and also store up 95% of our stores have already been filled up in gas and with this diversification. So this is really very important, particularly concerned now that Russia is using gas supplies as a war instrument. We've also put in place some policies for sobriety, and we have also set up various methods of accompanying our households to face the difficulties. But we still have more to do. We have to have the ability to prepare for next winter. It's not going to be any easier than this winter, because we have to start from the basic assumption that Russia might decide not to provide anything at all. And the way the war is going, they might we might decide that we're not going to buy from Russia. And those are the two assumptions. And it means that in both cases we have to plan for next winter without any Russian gas at all. We have to see how we get through 23-24. And we've decided on a certain number of measures. A first objective, of course, to bring down the price of gas. And I don't want to become too technical, but I want to say that we need a real-life thermometer, so to say, because we have an index, which is the TTF, and this index measures and gives a reference price real time, which is not quite the right one, because it concerns the gas that's going through the pipelines, and with a reference which is in Norway and the Netherlands, and it doesn't take into account other aspects of the market. Therefore, it's not broad enough. So the Commission decided to set up a new index, which we want to support, and the idea is to have a real-time indicator which is better than the TTF index. And it's very important because it means that today there's a lot of speculation on the gas market. And if you have this liquid index, and then there's speculation behind that. And the prices are compounded by speculation. So we want to have a new index. We all agreed. Secondly, we want to have some price corridors to fight against the volatility of markets. On the wholesale market of gas, we want to have mechanisms which react and are used when there's an abnormal takeoff of prices. It would refer to the prices of the day before. There'd be a margin, and a given cape is fixed. So it's quite technical. The Commission is going to work on this. We've given them the task, and the objective is to avoid speculation and volatility and decorrelation from the reality and from the effects of announces and situation at a given moment. So we're giving a clear signal that we're setting up a mechanism to combat speculation which goes on the gas market. And those two elements were caught favorably by the market already over the recent weeks. We've sent out these messages, and we were at more than 300 euros per kilowatt hour, and now we've brought it down to 68 or 69 just before the Council, and we've managed to drop it further to 62 a few minutes ago. It's the immediate effect of our decisions. We are bringing more quota mode of functioning into the market. And we're doing this while we also are operationalizing the principle of joint purchasing. We would like all the buyers to get together. This would have the advantage of bringing together both objectives, which is to drop the prices and also to secure the necessary volumes for next winter. So these are the short-term measures which are really indispensable on the gas market. Now, as regards electrical energy, we've made two strong decisions. One is short-term and one is longer-term. We want to use the Iberic mechanism and extend it further. There are advantages and drawbacks, but let's say that in the coming days, the Commission and the Ministers of Energy are going to work on this mechanism. What are the advantages? We are capping the price of gas used to produce power. They've started doing this in Spain and Portugal, and the results were good. The prices started dropping, and anything that brings the price of power down is a good thing. If we do it Europe-wide, it's a fact that it will have a very positive effect in Europe. So most analysis show that this method of bringing down the price of electricity is a good one. There are some technical aspects which the Commission is going to look into. First, the model depends on each of your electrical production systems. Different countries will have a different setup. There are transfer mechanisms which we need to bring in so that we offset these differences in the different European countries. Then it also leads to managing to sponsor a cheaper method of producing electricity, and even with the non-European members, Switzerland and the UK. It's all very technical, but must be run in full transparency. In the upcoming days, the Commission is going to carry out this study and plan, and the ministers will be able to make a decision very soon. It's a great mechanism. it's really going to help in the medium and the long term to bring down the cost of electricity. We also confirmed that we want to reform the electrical market of Europe. In France, that doesn't have as much impact. The difference between electrical costs and gas is quite great because of our specificity. But generally in Europe, the cost of electricity is overestimated. So we've made a change in the general configuration, and this is going to be enacted by the Commission at the end of the year or the beginning of next year with a new process, so that probably the effects will be felt Europe-wide in the second half of 23. I'm sorry if I'm being a little technical, but this is really what makes our everyday life, basically. It touches upon our life and upon our industry. And all these things are what we decided so that we can manage the cost of energy. And our ministers, the European Commission, all of us are going to enact these new plans. This is a clear market for the market, and I think speculation is going to be reduced and the prices will come down. We need, next to this, a European unity on the financial front. We are all making decisions to protect our citizens. It has a cost. And part of that cost, because of the European taxing system, which is up to each state, it leads to inequalities, and we have given the Commission a mandate to move towards some solidarity financial mechanisms, whether it is loans or guarantees, whichever mechanism works best. We had decided to use loans when we had the Recover EU and then the COVID crisis, and where each member country is going to decide which mechanisms they want to use to help for the economic recovery. And this is going to be set up in the coming weeks. So we're going to try and have financial stability and unity in Europe thanks to these mechanisms. So this is what we worked out last night after we'd got an agreement with Spain and Portugal, and then generally these proposals, these decisions are going the right way to bring down prices, reinforce our competitiveness, and create a more stable environment for economic recovery, reindustrialization, and nevertheless we're in keeping with our European sovereignty. So this is what we've agreed with the Iberic Peninsula, and far beyond. It's the best way to do things. I want to say quite clearly that France has decided to pull out of the energy chart, the Treaty of the Chart of Energy. It was a moot point, and I wanted to tell you about this. We had a morning dedicated to geo-policies and the problem of Ukraine, and our total solidarity with this country, our unity in our determination to support Ukraine. And we have made some decisions which are very structuring. We've made some decisions concerning the Iranians who helped Russia and sanctions about that. More sanctions have been decided. On the military level, we're launching an action to form Ukrainian soldiers. France will participate. We're going to have 2,000 Ukrainian soldiers trained on our territory. And another 500,000 euros are committed for armament inclusion in the European peace facility. France would deliver new equipment. It would be an air defense systems and a few more Caesar guns. Financially, we are also doing a lot. We are supporting reconstruction of Ukraine. With the European Commission, we're going to have a meeting in Berlin at the end of October about this theme. We want a collective organization to help Ukraine, particularly in winter. We need to take extra measures to improve the civilian resistance means of the Ukrainians and to maintain the civilian buildings that are so much needed in winter. And the war in Russia has made so much damage. We need to increase our help, food aid, and there's the Sea Crop Action, which we launched in September in New York, as you know. The conflict is changing in its threat. We've discussed this in Prague with the threats on European equipment. And we are reinforcing the structures, reinforcing our work in that area. We have insisted on mobilization for Moldavia, which is supporting terrible consequences of the attack on Ukraine. And in November, we're going to have a support conference for Moldova, and we're going to help organize that conference, or even organize it in Paris. Then China. Maybe I can deal with it when it comes to question time, but we did have 3 intensive hours of debate to try and draw a path vis-à-vis China, not be naive, and maintain our freedom of choice as regards the path we choose. And I think we're still speaking more or less the same language as a few months ago. We are competitors, we have rivalry, and, but we also have the need to have partners when it comes to important issues such as the climate. And what happened after these 3 hours of debate is that we now have unanimity that we need to have a European strategy. And the notion which I've been defending for 5 years, at last, and it was approved in Versailles, well, now it's coming to light even more. When you broaden the debate and the outlook onto the world, you realize you need a political strategy for Europe. And we don't want to be technologically dependent, such as for rare materials or semiconductors. We had a meeting to reinforce our action in that area. I'll be there in Bangkok for the OPEC summit, and I represent Europe. And that's what I wanted to say after this council. You've understood that after long debates and in a context which is putting up to the test us Europeans, well, we've come out of it with more unity and a precise calendar for our actions. Questions? As regards energy, can we really talk about an agreement? When you talk about the Iberic model, it doesn't mean that you have any calendar, and are the measures realistic? Isn't Europe getting behind and will never manage to catch up the delay? Well, first, I think to be a European is to build consensus. And you start with situations which are 27-fold, and you try and bring them together. Of course, you have to do it fast and intelligently, and our interest is for collective interest to be stronger than individual interest. Of course, there were some countries who had a different point of view, but in the end, we all agreed that we'd adopt the Iberic model, and that's important because we can make some concrete proposals. And a few days ago, it wouldn't have happened. There was strong, explicit opposition on that mechanism. Well, now we've agreed, the 27 have agreed. Of course, it will have to be translated into technical arrangements, but that will happen. If some people didn't quite believe in the Iberic model, it's because they thought, oh, I might be paying more than my neighbor. There'll be leaks. True. Well, mechanisms have to be found so that that doesn't happen. And all of us together, we will stand to benefit from the system if we manage to set it up. And quite clearly, it's a move forward because a few days ago, we weren't at that point at all. And it means that we managed to find a 27-member decision, and we're moving forward. So even if we have difficulties in our sensitivities or our varying models, we've managed. And as you said, it's also a question of how fast we do it. And I hope our execution is at maximum speed, because since the beginning of the war, we have our union of values, but we're not united when it comes to consequences of the war on our lives. And it is true that when you're Norwegian or American and sanctioning Russia and helping Ukraine is not the same whether you're Norwegian or whether you're French or German. And our economies need energy, and the problem of depending on gas is much stronger for some countries than for others. So we have to discuss this. We have to have the debate. It's fair, and that's what we've been doing. And I really approached the Norwegian Prime Minister and the United States in a very open way, so that they can understand our point of view. And yes, they have oil, and that's great for them, but it wouldn't be fair if they kept all the benefit for themselves. It's a debate we have to have, and there can't be a two-tier Europe. Moreover, there are choices which we've made in conjunction with the US regarding attractiveness, but with double standards, because their costs of energy are so much lower, as they are producers, and they sell the gas at 3 or 4 times less than we have to pay, and they have also great subsidies from the state in some areas, up to 90%. That is so unfair. It means it's double standard for the goods that are produced, and we need to create some more sincere conditions of trade. It's something I've been talking about with them, and when I have my state visit in the States at the beginning of December, I'll be discussing it again. And we have to act very quickly on prices, bring them down. We have to maintain solidarity and not let financial instability start in Europe. And we have to create the conditions of attractiveness and competitivity so that we can catch up and not be dependent on the ups and downs of what is going on. We are not only a market, we are producers. We want to be good at selling various industrial goods. And to do that, we need to fight and not stay. Mr. Chairman from France Presse, Mr. President, you promised the French that the prices of energy would definitely drop at the beginning of November. Are you committing to this again? The work to achieve what you've described is quite intensive. Will you make it by then? The final agreement hasn't been found yet. And as you're going to Rome on Sunday, what are you going to report? Do you intend? Thank you very much. Well, first let me tell you that since the end of the summer, we have been helping to bring down the prices of gas. It was at 330 euros. Now it's under 200, and we need to go on bringing it down to reach acceptable levels. We're doing it, and we've already achieved some results. We've got a clear message about this. We're going to keep going. I'm quite confident that we're going to keep our promise. And besides, we've set up some national protection mechanisms which are going to be confirmed by the government in a few days' time. Protection for companies, the ones which were not included by the tariff shield. Already we have some visibility on 2023, and we know that the rises are going to be capped to 3%, and that for SMEs, rises will not be beyond 15%. For some categories, we have to finalize the national protection mechanism to give more security to those sectors. There's a political European decision for the price of electricity, and there's going to be the structured system I've announced, plus the national protective system, which we'll announce soon. Yeah, Rome. Yes, I'm going to Rome because I've accepted to open the conference on Sunday, and I have an audience with the Pope on Monday morning. That's why I'm going. I'm going to the Vatican. President Mattarella invited me to visit him as well. I will. And at this point, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll have to decide about when the moment arrives, what the recommendation will be. I have to respect the diplomatic habits when you go to the Vatican. Your Vatican visit is the priority. Even if they are close, it doesn't mean to say you can necessarily do both. I'll see the president of the Italian Council if she if there's time, if she can allow this, after I've had my papal visit, I'll go and visit President Mattarella, and we'll see what is the most useful and at the same time respecting proper usages. BFM television, something very typically French. The parents of Lola, you received them after the swamping emotion that happened and the messages. What can you say about those who've committed that sort of crime? The Minister of the Interior, the Minister of Justice, many people have mentioned this crime, and we have to spend.
And you've been listening there to French President Emmanuel Macron briefing reporters after that EU Leaders' Council meeting in Brussels.